Wednesday Show. Wednesday Show. Wednesday Show. Wednesday Show. Lum bum bum ba-dum bum bum. What are the other songs? We've gone through lots of different songs throughout the years where I sit here and I make up random songs to random words. We don't talk about Tuesdays. No, no, no. It's, how's everyone doing? You guys doing good? We got people slowly coming on here. Hola. Hello. Hello. How are you guys doing today? You guys doing good? Hopefully everyone's doing well. Yeah, today we're going to be talking all about this past weekend's Run Disney Race Weekend. Who would have thought we'd be talking about a Run Disney Race Weekend? We just do this 4 times a year. Sometimes 5, but mainly 4. Usually 4. And then the other 48 weeks of the year are scattered around about other things. Howdy. Oh, yeah. So today we're going to be doing a recap of this past weekend's. Lauren, did you even write anything? It's just blank. What? Do 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 do. I'm hooked now. I need to do more. I told you. Every time we talk about the Run Disney Race Weekend, I'm always like, it's addicting, and I don't think people ever truly believe me until they do it. And they're like, holy cow, you're right. It is the most addicting thing in the world. After you do one, you just want to do them all. And now I do them all. And my bank account does not like me, but but I like me. I like what I do. I think it's fun. Because it's fun to put yourself through all the misery. Although this weekend, I really did not experience any type of discomfort or anything else like that. Oh, it was supposed to be a sticker. All right, we'll give a few more seconds here. Let any last people, well, not last people, you're free to come in whenever you guys want to. But we'll give a few more seconds just in case we have anyone else coming in here. As always, let's take a look at our YouTube subscribers. And if we go up, we're going to extend it by more than the hour. My friend is trying to convince me to do an I told her only if she pays. That's a good idea. Maybe I should start telling my friend that I always do it. I don't really want to do these anymore. And see if he pays. But our other friend, hey Tom, how you doing, buddy? But my other friend who usually does the races with us, he has told us that he's not going to do them for a while now. And my friend said he's not going to pay. So this is our starting count. We're at 1,465 subscribers. So we'll continue going to extra innings if that goes up as the show goes on here. Especially if we hit like 1,475, that'd be pretty cool. If we go up 10 today. So keep spreading the word. Share with a friend. Let's get this party started. We're going to start the 659th episode of the... We will answer that question in just a second, Alex, because I do not have the answer. The 659th episode of the Wednesday Show in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 659th episode of the Wednesday Show. Today is April 6, 2022, and I'm your host, as always, Brenda Dodge. Hello. Today we are going to be going through and doing a recap of this past Run Disney Weekend's Springtime Surprise Challenge. But of course, before we get to that, let's talk about our news for the week. All right. As always, thank you everyone who's been checking out our YouTube videos. If you guys did not already notice, we are doing a YouTube video every single day right now over on my YouTube channel. It's exhausting. Yes, it's exhausting, but it's also a lot of fun. I'm absolutely loving it. I love putting out new content every single day. So if you guys are enjoying it, make sure you're giving those videos a like. Make sure, including this one right here. Make sure you're giving them a like. Make sure that you're sharing with a friend. Do a comment. All those things do help us out. And of course, the more comments, the more traction we get, the more we're going to be doing this for a longer term. Originally, this was going to be a 50-day thing, and it's now almost a year later. And well, not a year later, but we're well over 6 months from when we started, and we are still going strong. So keep on spreading the word. The more subscribers we get, the more we're going to keep on going strong. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for pushing that like button. I truly appreciate every single time you guys do that. Also, if you guys don't already know, every single Saturday, right here on the From Screen to Theme Facebook page, we do our Saturday in the park every single Saturday right here at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. We do a live broadcast from someplace found throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. You never know where we're going to be, but we're always going to have some fun because we're at Disney World. So make sure you join us every single Saturday for those broadcasts. And of course, as always, tonight's show is sponsored by It's All About the Mouse Travel. Make sure you stop by it'sallaboutthemousetravel.com for all of your Disney travel needs. All of their services are absolutely, positively, 100% free. So make sure you book with them for your next Disney vacation. Okay. We have a lot to talk about because one of these races this weekend involved a scavenger hunt / puzzle / something or another. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too. And we're actually going to go through every single puzzle because why not? Well, I mean, people can't go into the past and do them. So we might as well share them with you guys so we can talk all about those puzzles here as well. Okay. First off, let's go to Alex's question. How many total medals do you have now? 500. I have no idea. I don't know the official count. I actually have not really paid attention to the count since around 100. It's got to be close to 150, if that's my guess. I don't know if you guys remember, but a few years ago, I said, I'm going to get to 50 medals and that's it. And then that was a long time ago. And I keep on going more and more and more. One of the things about Run Disney and these race weekends are these race weekends, hands down, without a doubt, are my favorite race weekends of the year. I absolutely love these race weekends. They are so much fun. I look forward to them 4 times a year. I cannot wait to do the next one every single time that I know is coming up. And I'm really bummed because our next one is not for another 7 months. And also, yes, thank you, Eric. Today is the 31st anniversary of When There's Trouble You Call DW, Darkwing Duck. Let's get dangerous. Yes, I don't know exactly the amount, but let's get to our recap here. And of course, before we get started, let me know in the comments, have you ever done a Run Disney race? If so, which one or how many have you done? Does anyone have more than 150? Or am I the only one who's lost a boatload of money over the last 10 years? Okay, so let's get this party started. We're going to start talking about the Springtime Surprise Challenge. I've got a lot of things over here, so that's why I'm looking at, trying to figure out exactly where we're going to get started at. Let's start off by taking a look at the past, because I think it actually might be on one of these. Yes. This is I bought this at the expo. This is a Tervis. And you see on there, it says, Run Disney Springtime Surprise Weekend celebrates Yestermorrow 2022. So this entire weekend celebrates Yestermorrow. And I know a lot of people out there are probably thinking that's just gibberish. And yes, it sounds like it's just gibberish. But at the same time, it's not gibberish at all. So as the years have gone by, several different Run Disney race weekends have kind of fallen by the wayside. Some of them have been extremely popular, like my personal favorite race weekend of all time, the Expedition Everest Challenge. And then other ones, not as much. Things like the Race for the Taste, or even remember when they used to have a triathlon, like back in the early 2000s, and you actually had to swim across Bay Lake. True story. I actually worked it when I did my college program. Quite disgusting, but that's besides the point. So they used to have it, so they went through and had all these different race weekends, and a lot of the race weekends were extremely popular, and people have been asking for them to come back for years and years and years and years. And this race weekend, they decided to make that dream come true and have it so they brought back 3 of the races that had fallen by the wayside. The 3 races they brought back were the Expedition Everest Challenge, like I said earlier, my favorite Run Disney race of all time. They also brought back the Race for the Taste 10K, which I had never had a chance to do. And then the final one was the Tower of Terror 10 miler. And I had done the very last Tower of Terror 10 miler back in 2014. And then that was the last time they ever did it. So, yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but that's, yeah. So you went to the altogether, if you did all the challenges, it equaled 19.3 miles. If you've ever done one of the challenges in the past, it equals 19.3 miles as well. It's a 10K along with a half marathon. This one is a 5K plus a 10K plus a 10 miler. Altogether equals the 19.3 miles. Oh, there we go. Give it up for Crystal. Yay, you did the challenge this weekend. I've done tons. Don't know count. Started with the Princess 2012. I'm here for the Everest recap. Oh, we are going to get into the Everest recap. Eric did just a Castaway Key 5K. That's this one right here. Good times. That was actually a great race. That was on my birthday itself. All right. So first off, let's just talk a little bit about the expo because, like I said, we've got tons of stuff to actually cover here. So at the expo, I bought two different items. This is a Christmas ornament. It's a shoe. I haven't taken it out of the package yet. But on the back there, we have Goofy and Tower of Terror stuff. On the other side is Remy. And we got Mickey there running. Do we have the Yeti anywhere? Now that I think about it, I don't think we have the Yeti. We don't have the Yeti. But we also have on the bottom, he might be on the inside of the shoe. Or then on the bottom, we also have 3 parks because this race weekend does take you through 3 different parks. It takes you through Disney's Animal Kingdom, Epcot, and then, of course, Disney's Hollywood Studios, obviously for the Tower of Terror 10 miler. In addition to that, I also bought this Tervis right here. And then my biggest purchase of all is actually my biggest purchase I've ever had at one of the Run Disney Races weekends. And I better kind of... So in the past, they've gone through and they've sold these massive signs. And if you've ever gone to one of the Run Disney races, when you walk in, all of the merchandise is assorted by race. So if you are doing the Tower of Terror 10 miler, there's different things for that race above it saying Tower of Terror 10 miler. This weekend, I knew a lot of people who were running it. So me and my friend Frank, who do all of the races together, we were outside and we were meeting up with our friend Ashley, who I haven't seen since she moved to California, about 6 months ago. So we were outside the expo catching up, and one of these people was walking by outside with the signs. And I was like, we've always wanted these signs. My friend Frank and I have always wanted to buy one of these signs. And Frank was like, let's get back into the expo. So we ran back in the expo, and sure enough, they had the Expedition Everest 5K sign. They had 3 different assortments because they have the I Did It one, they have the actual sign, and they also have just like the generic thing. So this is so ridiculously large. I bought this sign. I can't even see. I bought this massive sign right here. If you follow me on Instagram, you guys probably saw this picture of me holding on to this. And I had a few people who sent me messages saying, I never saw that photo op. Where was that photo op? It wasn't a photo op. I bought the sign. But isn't that cool? Now, the funny thing is, before this, they usually had it so you could buy these signs at the start of the races, which you're running a race, so you're not going to carry the sign with you. And we've always talked about how we really want to get these signs. I said, if we ever have it, so there's the Expedition Everest Challenge comes back, I want the sign for the Expedition Everest Challenge because it's my favorite race of all time. And we got it. But then the funniest part was they weren't selling the Tower of Terror 10 miler signs yet because they still had tons of merchandise. And my friend Frank convinced them to take the signs down so you could buy one of those. I only bought the Expedition Everest. Look at that. The thing is massive. Like the 5K is the same size as my face. Okay. Now, in addition to that, at the expo, you also get your race shirts. This is the one for the Expedition Everest Challenge. 5K there. The Yeti. And then we have the Race for the Taste 10K shirt. And then we also have the Springtime Surprise. This is the one for doing all 3 races. And then I'm also currently wearing the Tower of Terror 10 miler shirt. Ooh, I'm the model. So let's talk about the Expedition Everest Challenge 5K because it was the first part of the race weekend. This race actually took place on Thursday night. In the past, this was actually a do the race and then there was a party afterwards. So if you've ever done it in the past, it was better in the past, and mainly due to the fact that you did the 5K, and then there's like a little obstacle course, and then after the obstacle course, you went back into the park and you did a scavenger hunt / puzzles. Now, we're going to go through every single one of the puzzles, but this year, just to kind of differentiate what they did this year they had it so when you're going to do the race, you were also going to be solving the puzzles as you went through. Now, in addition to that, they had it so this year they're going to do it on an app. In the past, it used to be you go through and you get a question. You have to answer that question, hand it to a cast member. If you're right, you can keep on racing. If you're wrong, you're stuck there. So this year it was going to be on an app. You would answer the questions, and then it would give you points. And then based on the points, that's where you would be placed in the long run. Because of weather in the area, unfortunately, they did cut the course by half a mile, and they also cut the scavenger hunt portion. Now, this was a win / lose because, one, I had it, aka Brent Dodge's wardrobe. This is my wardrobe. That is all I wear is Run Disney race shirts. I actually had today, I was at the park with one of my friends, Catherine. Some of you guys know Catherine. And her dad was there as well. And her dad said, do you get a race or do you get a shirt for every race you do? And I said, yeah. And he goes, so you got like what, 150 Run Disney race shirts? And I was like, yeah, that's all I wear. Like, you've known me long enough that you should know that that's all I've worn for the last 10 years. But that's besides the point. So this year what they did was they had it so there was an app. I had been going through, well, first off, so the last time they ever did the Expedition Everest challenge back in 2015, I believe it was, I got 12th place overall. And I got killed in the 5K, but then in the scavenger hunt portion, I destroyed the competition. Like I beat second place by like 21 minutes. And since then, I've been like determined. Like I'm like, if that race ever comes back, I'm going to train. And I actually trained. It was the first time ever that I've like fully trained for a race. I've been doing it. So after the Wednesday show, I would actually go out and run like 5 miles and try to get into shape so I could actually do really well on the 5K. And that way, even though I knew I was going to be behind the fastest runners, I would be able to catch up on the scavenger hunt portion and actually win this entire thing. I was determined. I was going to Animal Kingdom. If you guys noticed last week, I went to Animal Kingdom, I think it was 4 or 5 times leading up to the race because I wanted to make sure I knew every little detail inside of Animal Kingdom, even though I pretty much already did, and have it so that way if they showed us a picture, I could go find the picture. In the past, they had things like a picture of a sign. They say, go underneath the sign and tell us what type of person is found below the sign. And I saw it and I was like, oh, it's a mailbox below it, so it's a mail. So they used to have different things like that. This year around, they had it so you would go to the app, and once you got to the locations, it would unlock it. So my friend Frank and I, we had Animal Kingdom reservations for that day, mainly due to the fact that we wanted to go through the race course before we actually did the race. And we wanted to have it so we could maybe see different observations. Now, Frank is convinced that we're one of like thousands of people who did this. I'm convinced that we're one of maybe 10 people who did this. We got to the park, and it ends up all of the locations on the app were actually already able to unlock. So if you walk by something, it would unlock. So we looked at the first one, and we thought maybe it's just a practice clue, and they're going to change it up for the actual race. And the first clue they gave you was this thing, and this is the part that kills me, because if it was not for this, each one of these puzzles that we're about to show you took me maybe 15 seconds to a minute to solve every single one. I think I would have destroyed the competition if we had actually included the scavenger hunt portion. So we have this one right here. We have a picture. Let me get to the caption at the top. So the whole thing is you're looking for Gary Erickson, who's an explorer who got lost. Gary Erickson is superstitious. In fact, you could say he is doubly superstitious about what to put in his pack. Namely, he would have never carried one of these items pictured below, which item is different from the rest. So in that, doubly and namely are both in quotation marks. So if you look at the things there, we have a whistle, we've got mittens, we've got sunglasses, we have boots, and we have a compass. Immediately, I told Frank, I said, I know exactly what the answer is. And he thought it was sunglasses. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think the answer is if you've never seen the answers? So namely, doubly are both things in the clues. And the items, again, we have is whistles, mittens, sunglasses, compass, and boots. and one of them does not belong. What is the one that does not belong? Do 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 do. Dot 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 boom boom. If you answered sunglasses, you are incorrect. If you answered boots, you're incorrect. If you answered mittens, you're incorrect. If you answered compass, you're incorrect. The answer actually was whistle. Now, the reason it's whistle, they tell you why afterwards, but I was like, oh, the words namely and W are both in quotation marks, so those must mean something. And in the names for all of those things, there are double letters in all of them except for the word whistle. So mittens has double T in there, compass has double S, boots has double O, sunglasses has a double S, and then of course the only one that's left after that is whistle. So whistle is actually the correct answer to go on to your next spot. So we did that and we're like, is this a practice clue? We're not sure. And we decided we're only going to play on Frank's phone just in case it was the actual thing. And it ended up, it was actually the actual thing that we were playing. But then they canceled the scavenger hunt portion, so it didn't really make any difference at all. But we have a funny story coming up about that. So our next clue on there was, can you figure out what Gary Erickson was creating with this formula? It's elementary. It's in quote. Tip, if you tap the photo, you can zoom in and around. So it has the periodic table there. And if you look at the top of the periodic table, it has some numbers written down, 24, 95, 84, 716. Immediately, I was like, oh, this is the easiest thing in the world. And if you write all those things out, it is crampons, which is the thing that you use for climbing. So far we had whistles and we had crampons. When you got to Africa, which we went straight over to Africa, and we're like, oh, all these clues are clearly up. Again, at this point, Frank was actually convinced that it was not that. He thought it was a practice run. I was like, I'm pretty sure we're actually playing the actual race right now. It looks like Gary was making a list of what was in his storage compound. Is it a coincidence or purposeful in helping you in your quest that all of the lists can be paired up with the same word to make a new word? What is that word? So the words that we have here are feed, paper, bone, quarter, diamond, and flash. Anyone in the comments know what word goes along with all of those words? So while you guys make your guesses, so after they announced they were not going to be doing this portion of the race, they said, don't worry, tomorrow we'll have it so you can play this on your own wherever you want to go. And we went to Mama Melrose's the next day to go through and do some carbo loading, and the table next to us was actually going through and doing all of the clues. And this one, they were coming up with some of the most ridiculous answers ever. Candace is actually right. It is back. So if you go through all of those words there, you can add the word back, and it will make a brand new word. So you have feedback, paperback, backbone, quarterback, diamondback, or flashback. Ooh. After you solved that one, another clue would pop up. And I just realized we missed one. Where's the other clue? We missed one. So let's go back to the other one, because I thought this was really funny too, because it says, riddle me this, what letter in the alphabet appeals to the senses? Does anyone out there know? What letter in the alphabet appeals to the senses? The answer is your starting point. Next, simply follow the signs to spell out the item you'll need in your pack. So again, we have another riddle. This one is, what appeals to your senses? What letter of the alphabet appeals to your senses? I never even thought about I. I is actually not correct. Immediately I was like, oh, it's got to be this letter. And I makes more sense. It makes about the same amount of sense. Sense. Pun. It is not I, though. It is a different letter of the alphabet. Anyone? The letter would be the letter C, because with your eyes, you see. So then you would follow the letters there. You would start off with the, you would start off with the C, and then on there it says move to the left 2. You move over 2 and give you the letter O, and it says down 3, which give you an M. Go to the right 3, that'll give you the A. I'm sorry, the P. Over 1 A, up 2, that'll give you the S, and then over 3 S. So overall, it would be a compass. Compass would be the one that would actually give you the final answer. So compass is the word that you're looking for. Let me find that other one real quick here. I know I've got a screenshot or something or another on here. But this, yeah, so after you finish the back one, backbone, quarterback, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it would pop up with this one right here. Now that you know the word that is matched with the others, use it as inspiration for how to get a read on this clue that was at the bottom of Gary's list. Once you know what to pack, write only the name of the item in the answer box. So the word is back, and if you look down here, we have all these letters that are backwards. So if you read it backwards, it says, make sure to bring a headlamp. So the answer for that one was headlamp. After that, I love these types of things too, by the way. I'm just like a nerd when it comes to this stuff. After that one, we got to our next clue. The next clue was one that tested mine and Frank's friendship, because I was like, oh, this is the answer. And he's like, that doesn't even make sense. And then he almost killed me. And then he finally came around and he agreed with me that was the word. To figure out what else you should be packing, just add water to this. To figure out what else you should be packing, just add water to this. Does anyone know what our answer is? We're like not even through the 5K yet. We're like barely, we haven't even talked about the 5K. We've just talked about the puzzle section of it. Just add water. So if you just add water to this, obviously if you put down like W-A-T-E-R-S, it's not going to spell anything. But Candace has it. The answer is handholds, because if you add water, H2O, we have 2 H's in there, H and H, then an O for handholds. Now, the most ridiculous thing that you could ever imagine was after we figured all these out, there was only one clue left that we could do before, or that was still around for us to accomplish, but it was backstage. And Frank really wanted to do it. It was the final clue. And I told him, well, if you want to do it, I think the only way we can actually activate it, because it was all GPS located, was if we ride the attraction Dinosaur. So we literally went on Dinosaur to get to the back corner of the building to hopefully hit the letter here. And it worked. So the final clue was Gary is laying all his cards out on the table. Literally, what couldn't he have told us in a letter instead of making us transform these into something that makes sense? Tip, if you zoom in a little. So that would give us this right here. So this is another one. I've done these types of puzzles before, so immediately I was like, oh, I can figure this out within the next minute. And it took me about a minute to decipher. But the word is matches. And the reasons it's matches is because the first cards you have there is 7 and 6. That equals 13. The 13th letter of the alphabet is M. A equals 1. It also equals A. So M-A. The 20th letter of the alphabet is T. So that's our 10 and 10. Our third letter of the alphabet is C. So M-A-T-C. The 8th letter of the alphabet is H. E is the 5th letter. And then if you add up the 8, 7, and 4 there, that's going to give you 19, which is the 19th letter of the alphabet, which gives you matches. After you add all that, it gave you all these different little video clues, and then eventually you just ran to the finish line. This was all before the race. So when we got to the race, eventually they said, unfortunately, due to the weather in the area, we're going to be shortening up the course, and we're also going to be getting rid of the scavenger hunt portion. Huge bummer to me. However, we did start in the second corral, so I don't think I would have had a chance at winning anyways, unless people were really struggling at the scavenger hunt portion. But like I said, all those took me about maybe a minute tops. So I think I actually would have had a pretty darn good chance at passing a lot of people in Corral 1. But let's talk a little bit about the 5K. So the 5K started off in the Animal Kingdom parking lot. I'll also talk about when the course was shortened. You started off in the Animal Kingdom parking lot. You ran around the Animal Kingdom parking lot until you eventually entered in through the main entrance. Once you entered into the main entrance, that was mile 1. On your right-hand side, they had Divine, the plant lady, who usually hangs out at the entrance of Disney's Animal Kingdom. She was there on the right-hand side doing meet and greets. I did stop to meet her. Oh, well, we have pictures. So let's do pictures while we're talking to her. So she was there on the right-hand side doing meet and greets, and that would have brought us to the mile 1 marker. There she is. After that, you would enter into, or you would take a left at the Tree of Life, and then you would enter into Pandora. You would run all the way around Pandora until you would exit Pandora over by the back section of it until you got into Africa over by the Festival of the Lion King. And then you would run down the main path, take a left by the Harambe Marketplace. And right before you would exit the Harambe Marketplace / Africa, that was where we had our second meet and greet characters, which were Timon and Rafiki from The Lion King. Yay. Then you would enter backstage. You'd be on backstage for maybe 2 minutes, if that. That was our water station. That was the only water station on the course. You would run past there, and then you would enter into Africa over by Cali River Rapids. You would take a right over by Yak and Yeti. You would actually be able to meet Goofy in his Expedition Everest outfit. So, of course, I had to meet Goofy in his Expedition Everest outfit. You would take a left. You would go past Expedition Everest, enter into Dinoland USA over by Chester and Hester's Dinorama, but that'd stay on your left-hand side. Boneyard would stay on your right-hand side. You would go past Dinosaur, the attraction, on your left-hand side until you entered backstage once again. While you were in Dinoland USA, you could also meet Daisy Duck. And I was told that Daisy Duck was switching out with Donald Duck, and then Goofy was also switching out with Mickey Mouse. I just happened to get Daisy and Goofy. And then you would exit backstage, and you would just kind of take a left, and you would go down until you eventually get to the finish line. In the actual course, like the full course, you would have taken another left and gone behind Dinoland for half a mile and turned around. So it added, we cut about, it was just about 0.5 miles of the course was cut from the thing. And then at the end, you would get our first medal of the weekend, which was the Expedition Everest 5K medal. Ooh. And then it actually opens up and turns to a compass. Pretty nifty. Like I said, Expedition Everest Challenge was always one of my favorite race weekends of all time. So I'm so happy it came back for this weekend. And also, I've always loved the medals. The medals used to be like a tin-ish thing with you would open up and it would still be a compass. I kind of like this one a little bit better because it's more three-dimensional. So after that, on Friday, we had nothing, which was like the weirdest thing in the world because usually it's a race. And this time around, it was we did a race and then we had nothing. And then we had the next thing. Why is it your favorite race? It's my favorite race because I love puzzles. Like I am obsessed. Like escape rooms after Disney, like that's where I spend a good chunk of time. I haven't done one since everything reopened because I think it's kind of weird to touch all this stuff now. But I've always been a huge fan of puzzles and different riddles and different things like that. People give me puzzles and riddles a lot in my day-to-day life. So the combination of 1, being at Disney, 2, running through Disney, and 3, puzzles and like a scavenger hunt portion, hands down, I love it. I just absolutely love it. So it's always been my favorite race weekend because of that. I did start off in the very first race weekend ever back in 2008. I'm almost positive it was 2008. Maybe it was 2007. I think it was 2008. I did 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, and then 2012 on the actual day of it. one of my friends got married. Actually, the friend who I was with earlier today, whose dad was talking about my race shirts. And so she got married. So that ended my streak. And then I came back for the next 2 years and then it disappeared. So it's been killing me because I've done every single one of them except for one. And I just wanted to do another race. Okay, so Friday we had nothing going on. On Saturday was the 10K. Candace ran in the 10K. Yay, Candace. But so the 10K was the Race for the Taste 10K, which is this shirt right here. Now, I never did the Race for the Taste 10K. Let's see here. I never did the Race for the Taste 10K in the past. So this was a brand new race for me, which was kind of exciting. This course was a little bit different than what I've done for past 10K courses. One, it was probably the most humid race I've ever done in my life. It was insanely humid. I was drenched in sweat by the end of it, but we did make a point of it. My friend Frank never stops for characters. Usually we start together and then sometimes we'll meet up sometimes during the race. And then, but he rarely ever meets characters. He said he was going to do the 10K the way that I do the 10K and actually meet characters. So we started calling me the character butler because I would run ahead. I would get in line for the characters and then he would meet up with me while I was in there. And we would meet the characters together. So you started in the Epcot parking lot. You took a left and you went through the Auto Plaza. Right before you went through the Auto Plaza, they had our first characters there, which is Clarabelle Cow and Horace Horsecollar. And who was it? Was it Lauren? You were the one who said that you never knew about Horace Horsecollar, right? Both of them debuted back in 1929. After that, you would meet our next character, which was right before the 1 mile mark, which was Pluto with his chef's hat on. Kind of tough to see with the chef's hat. There's him with the chef's hat on. After that, you would hit the 1 mile mark and you would take a U-turn and you would kind of start going back towards Epcot and you would actually go over the little ramp and then you would enter in backstage over by where the bus loop is at Epcot and you would go behind the land pavilion. But before we got into that part, we met our next characters, which were Donald and Daisy, both in their chef's outfits. Lauren says, I don't know a lot. I thought it was you. Wasn't it you who commented? Someone commented on my Instagram about how you didn't know that she had a dude in her life. Or something or other. I don't know. So you would enter backstage and you would go behind the Seas Pavilion, behind the Land Pavilion, and then you would eventually enter over by the Imagination Pavilion. On the left-hand side, they had Figment, but it wasn't a character meet and greet Figment. It was a statue of Figment. And it really messed with my heartstrings because I saw it and I thought it was the actual character. And I started to get into the line until I realized it was just a statue. And then I got really mad. But after you go there, you start heading towards World Showcase. On the way over to World Showcase, we saw Joy and Sadness there. Yay. Look at Sadness. Sadness looks great. And then you would enter into World Showcase and you would take a right going towards Canada. So you would go past Canada, and then when you got over by the UK Pavilion, right before you got to the UK Pavilion restrooms, you would take a right and you would go backstage. You would go through backstage, go around by the Skyliners, and then you would enter over by the Beach and Yacht Club, over by the Skyliner station. You would take a right, you would go past the Beach Club, you would go past the Yacht Club, and then you would actually enter into the boardwalk area. When you got to the boardwalk area, it got our next set of characters, which are probably the lighting was not the greatest here. It was kind of dark to see. Also, this was probably the longest line I've ever seen for a character line. However, it did move probably faster than any character line I've ever seen before. Here it is, Mickey and Minnie, both in their chef's outfits. This was the point where Frank told me he was extremely happy because me being his character butler and running ahead, I got into this line. I was like, it's a really long line. He's like, I walked the rest of the time until he got to the line, which is pretty smart of him. So after you met those characters, they were over by the Atlantic City Dance Hall / Jelly Rolls area. You would continue going down the boardwalk, and at the very end of the boardwalk, we would have our next characters, which were sometimes some crimes go slipping through the cracks. Chip and Dale. Now it was funny because at this point during the race, we were like, okay, we've met Pluto, we've met Horse Color, and Clarabelle Cow, Chip and Dale. Donald and Daisy, Mickey and Minnie. We're like, Goofy has to be coming up. And in addition to Goofy, we also have to have in the France Pavilion, there's almost always a character meet and greet. So I said, we have to have it. So there's going to be Remy and Emile from Ratatouille in there. And luckily, they did have Remy and Emile in the UK Pavilion. Or I'm sorry, in the France Pavilion. There's Remy and Emile. We started at the end of Corral 4, which meant we were close to the Balloon Ladies right from the start. When we got to Mickey and Minnie, the ladies were 20 seconds behind us, so we panicked and ran. I don't blame you at all. My friend who started at the back of Corral 2, I started at the front of Corral 2. My friend started at the back of Corral 2, and she asked me if I can give her text messages every time we would be in a character line, say where the character was and everything else like that, so they can kind of push themselves to the character lines. They were in line for Remy and Emile, and they saw the Balloon Ladies going across the bridge, and they stopped going for characters after that, and they just ran the rest of the thing. So after you got to the France Pavilion, you would go to the right past Ratatouille, and then you would actually go backstage, go behind the France Pavilion, go behind the Morocco Pavilion, and then you would enter over by the gate that's over by the Morocco Pavilion and take a right and go into World Showcase. You'd go past Japan, go past the American Adventure, and then when you got over to Italy, you would meet your next characters. And actually, Frank called this one too, which was pretty impressive. He said, oh, Italy's going to have Pinocchio. And sure enough, Italy had Pinocchio and Geppetto. So we have Pinocchio and Geppetto there. And then you continue going through Germany, and then the African outpost, and then China, Norway, Mexico, and then towards the entrance of World Showcase, we had Goofy, who we had also predicted would be on the course as well at some point. Now, Goofy was one of the rare exceptions I made because usually when I go through and meet these characters, I usually say if I meet a character once during race weekend, that's all I have to meet them. I decided that since Frank wanted to meet, or he decided to do something different this time, I had already met Goofy once, but I was like, let's meet Goofy again. So we met Goofy a second time. After that, you would go down the pathway between World Showcase and Future World, and you would stay to the right-hand side until eventually you would exit the park. Over by Test Track, you would go backstage behind Mission Space, behind the new Guardians of the Galaxy attraction, and then you would go to the right to the finish line, which was in the parking lot, and then you would receive this nifty little medal. The race for the Taste 10K. Get Remy there, France Pavilion, and then this actually spins. So on the backside it says Walt Disney World 50, which I always like the little touches like that. So that gave us our second medal of the weekend, leading us into our third and final day, which was the Tower of Terror 10 miler. Like I said earlier, I had done the Tower of Terror 10 miler years ago, on the very last year that they ever did it. I liked the Tower of Terror 10 miler, but this weekend I gained a much bigger appreciation for the Tower of Terror 10 miler, and it probably became not my favorite race, but it probably became my favorite race course that they've ever done for any race. And I'm not even exaggerating at all when I say that. At the end of it, I told Frank and a few of our other friends that ran the races, I said, I think this is my new favorite race course. It was such a cool race course, and let's talk about it. So you would once again start at the Epcot parking lot. This time, instead of taking a left, you would take a right, and you would run around the parking lot until you eventually enter backstage over by Test Track. You would take a left, and then you enter into the actual park over by the Mexico Pavilion, and you would take a left and go around World Showcase. Did you explain why it was called Race to the Taste? Did I miss that? So it was kind of like a pre-wine and dine race weekend. It never really was a big race weekend, but they had like snacks and stuff at the end, and that was you'd be racing for the taste. Nothing too exciting. Really nothing too exciting. Out of the three races, when they had the sign, I really liked doing the race itself. But when they first announced it, I was like, oh, the 5K is one of my favorite races. Tower of Terror 10 miler was a great race when I did that. I was like, race for the taste. I don't know anyone who's done the race for the taste. I'm glad that I did it. I'm excited to do it again. I think the theming of it is kind of weird because we have the Wine and Dine Half Marathon in November. So, but that's besides the point. Okay, so back to our Tower of Terror 10 miler course. You would enter into World Showcase by Mexico. You would take a left, and you would go past Norway, go past China, go past Germany, and then in the Italy Pavilion, we had our first character meet and greet, which was Jiminy Cricket. And always let your content come on. Show us Jiminy. Maybe, maybe not. Not really. So you meet Jiminy, or I met Jiminy Cricket. Frank said, "Adios, see ya." I'm not going to wait for any of these characters, and he continued on his way. So you would continue going around World Showcase until you would eventually get over towards, was it the International Gateway? Maybe. No, you would exit over by the UK Pavilion, by the restrooms. You would exit there, and you would go, right? Yeah. You would go backstage, and then you would go towards the boardwalk. So instead of going towards Beach and Yacht Club, which we did the day before, we would take a left. We'd go past the boardwalk. And after you went past the boardwalk, you would eventually make your way on that long, narrow stretch between Epcot and the Disney's Hollywood Studios. During a lot of the race weekends, I despise this part of the race because it's towards the end of the races, and most people are exhausted by this point, and it's impossible because at that point I'm still usually running, not always, but usually I'm still running, but a lot of other people are not, and it's frustrating for someone who's like, oh, I just want to keep on running, but now you're kind of being forced to stop. This time it was really nice because it was literally mile 3 was on that section, and a lot of people still had energy, so you didn't feel like you were like getting stuck. I felt like I was able to keep on moving. So I was able to get over to Disney's Hollywood Studios fairly quickly. And when you get to Disney's Hollywood Studios, this is where, it's so cool. It was such a great course. You would enter in through the main entrance or around the main entrance. At the main entrance over by Crossroads of the World, they had Donald and Daisy there in their finest outfits because the entire thing is Tower of Terror 10 miler. So the entire race was actually set back in 1939. 1939. And they said 1939 like 100 times on the course. And my favorite thing ever is one of the Run Disney groups I'm part of. Afterwards, someone was like, why do they keep on saying 1939? And someone was like, oh, that was a year when Goofy had a short cartoon by himself. And I was like, it's the Tower of Terror 10 miler. Hollywood, 1939. Amid the glitz and the glimmer of a bustling young movie town, the Hollywood Tower Hotel was a star in its own right. Like, come on, people, like, get your act together. Anyway, so what was really cool about this was when you were going through backstage of Epcot, before you would actually get into Epcot, they had like all these like lights and stuff, and they actually talked about how they were transporting you back to 1939, and they would say it like 100 times. And then when you were backstage over by Remy's Ratatouille, because you would go around that area too, when you were backstage there, they had it so like they had these TV screens, and they kept on going 1939, 19. They really want to emphasize the fact that you're being traveled back in time. So Donald and Daisy were there because you were in 1939 in a glitzy, glamorous Hollywood, and they were in their finest outfits. So I decided to choose to skip them because I had met them the day before. So I said, sorry guys, I'm gonna keep on going. You went down Hollywood Boulevard until you got over by I'm now drawing a blank. Hollywood and Vine. When you get to Hollywood and Vine, you would take a left and you would run around Echo Lake past Gertie. Hi, Gertie. And then over by the exit of Frozen, you actually had your next character meet and greet, which was probably my favorite character meet and greet. Yeah, second favorite character meet and greet of the entire weekend. And that was Doobie Doobie Doo Up Agent P, Perry the Platypus, from Phineas and Ferb. I love Phineas and Ferb, and I love Perry the Platypus. So great character meet and greet. So you had him, and then you continue going around past Indiana Jones, past Star Tours, and then you would actually enter into Galaxy's Edge over by the Rise of Resistance. You would take the long, well, not long, but instead you never saw the Millennium Falcon, which I was kind of bummed about, but at the same time, it would be weird to have the course go out and back like that because it'd just be kind of pointless. So you would go past where the stormtroopers usually hang out. They had 2 stormtroopers up there kind of mocking people. And then you would enter into Toy Story Land over by the alien swirling saucer side. Over there at the entrance, they did have 2 characters. They had Woody along with Bo Peep there and a ridiculous print dodge. But they had Woody and Bo Peep there greeting people as you would enter into Toy Story Land, and then you would run through Toy Story Land. This was probably my favorite part of the entire course. It was just gorgeous. Like, I've gone through Toy Story Land at night before, but there was something special about running through it. And this was the very first time ever that they ever had a race course for Run Disney that went through Galaxy's Edge and went through Toy Story Land. Or, not shouldn't say and, or they had never done a race course that went through either of those lands before. So to have it so we went through both of them was just a really, really cool experience. So after you would go through Toy Story Land, you would go take a left over by One Man Stream, and then you would go through the Hollywood Studios Arch until you would eventually be in front of the Grauman's Chinese Theater. Here they had 2 characters who I had met the day before, but I broke my rule because it's Mickey and Minnie, and I had never seen either one of them in either one of these outfits before. So I decided to stop and meet Mickey and Minnie there. And then you would take a left and you would go back down Hollywood Boulevard until you get to Sunset Boulevard, and you would take a left and you would hear the constant 1939. And it was so cool because the Tower of Terror is ahead of you. But before we got towards the Tower of Terror, we had our next character meet and greet. And this photographer did an amazing job of cropping off my head. But we had Jose Carioca there from the 3 Caballeros. It'd be really cool if they had Panchito as well, but I will gladly take at least one of them there. So Jose Carioca, you continue going down Sunset Boulevard, and they kept on going 1939, 1939, 1939. It was such a cool, like the whole thing was just, it was so cool. You would exit over by Fantasmic. Fantasmic still exists, but it's just not open yet. And you could see the theater. And then after that, you would exit behind Tower of Terror, get onto the road, and right at that point was right around mile 5. You would swoop around one of the long on or off ramps, and then you would run down to the next on ramp that would take you over by Epcot. So you eventually enter into Epcot, and it was right around mile 8. So it was about 3 miles of running on a road without a park. Because it was only a 10-mile race and not a half marathon, it actually, for me, did not seem like it was that big of a deal. I talked to my friends who were behind me later on, and they made sure that I knew it was a very big deal. And they were talking about what a terrible, 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 terrible course it was because of that aspect. But for me, I actually thought it was a great course because I loved Furniture Studios. And then I thought at that point, because it was right around mile 5 and you had till mile 8 without a course or without a park, it was kind of a nice, it wasn't like a nice break, but it was not too long of a break that it was awful. It was just about, like 30 to 35 minutes. They only had one character along that part. They only had Pluto. So I wish they would have threw in 1 or 2 more characters that you could meet, but I had met Pluto before, so I skipped seeing Pluto. You would continue going into Epcot, and right over by the bus loop, they had Goofy there. I had met Goofy the 2 days before, so I decided not to meet Goofy this time. But right after you passed that, you had my favorite character meet and greet of the entire weekend, which was the one and only Mr. Scrooge Mcduck, my favorite character of all time. So here we had Scrooge Mcduck at the entrance, and look how excited that guy is. Scrooge Mcduck is there, and then you entered into backstage once again behind the Seas Pavilion, went behind the Land Pavilion until you would eventually get back on stage over by the Imagination Pavilion, and that's where you had the one and only bowler hat guy over by the Imagination Pavilion. This was probably one of the funniest meet and greets of all time because there was only about 6 people in the entire line, and out of those 6 people, 4 of the people were trying to figure out who they were in line to meet. And I'm like, why are you even, first off, why are you even in line if you don't know who the character is? And second off, it's Bowler Hat Guy from Meet the Robinsons, or Goob. If you watched my YouTube videos, I even say Goob because that, it's Goob. So you would enter, or so you would run around that area, and see, there we go, right there, Goob. I love Meet the Robinsons. I think it's such a great film. It's such an underrated film. I wish more people would appreciate it. So you would see Goob, and you would eventually go through and kind of you wouldn't even get down towards, you'd get to like the entrance of World Showcase, but you kind of take a left and then you would go down towards Spaceship Earth, or you'd be running towards Spaceship Earth until you got to the Creation Shop. You would take a right there, and then you would exit backstage over by Test Track once again, take a left, and then you'd be behind backstage area until eventually you would get back on stage and finish up the race. And then you would get your next medal for the weekend, which is the Tower of Terror 10 miler. And the best part about this medal is this medal does move. The other one moved as well, but oh no, it got caught on a thread. There we go. But there we go. So Goofy goes up and down. There's a little spot where you can actually like keep him there. So that was for finishing the Tower of Terror 10 miler. Love the medal. I think it's a great medal. And then if you did the challenge, in the past, the challenges are usually if you do the 10K and half marathon, or if you do the half marathon and full marathon during marathon weekend, or if you do the 5K, 10K, half marathon, and full marathon during marathon weekend. That's usually the challenge. They've never done 3 races as the challenge before until this weekend. So this time around, to do all 3, it was called the Springtime Surprise Challenge Medal, or Springtime Surprise Challenge. And it would give you this medal right here with Mickey there. And Mickey does go on a track as well, so you can kind of move him all around, make him spin around if you want to. But overall, really, really cool medals for all 3 races this weekend. And that's our recap. So let me know in the comments below if you guys have any questions. We will go through and answer some questions here. If we got any new YouTube subscribers, we'll go on for a little bit longer and answer more questions about Run Disney or the races or whatnot. Talked about that movie last week. We talked about that movie last week. Hey, let's go rate characters. I love that medal. I think all the medals are just amazing medals. Do the medals often have moving parts? Usually, like the challenge medals will have moving parts, and sometimes like 1 or 2 other medals will have moving parts, but usually it's not. Like this one has all 4 of them have some sort of interactive thing, whether it's the 5K being the compass, or you have the 10K medal, but 10K medal having that spin around area up the top there. But yeah, usually it's not as often as this where you go through and have all of them, but this time around, yeah, it's not bad. All right, let's go to more questions. If you guys have any questions, throw them to the comments. We're going to keep on going through questions. Let's also take a look, because it is time when we usually close, but I've been talking forever and we haven't really got to any questions. Let's check our subscriber status here. Did we get anyone else? Are we going to go into extra innings tonight? We're going to give you guys like an extra 10 minutes. However, if we get that number up, if we get to even 1,466, we'll add a few minutes every single time we get a new subscriber on. So spread the word. Let your friends know. All right, let's go to this one here. Tell me about registration. I need to register my 2 kids for the January races on April 19th. I was going to read it as January 19th because it's over January. Okay. So registration is very, very difficult. It's very tricky, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It's very difficult. So when you're doing the race registration, what you really want to do is you want to make sure that I'm always on there about 5 to 10 minutes early, and they will sell out almost immediately. And if you're not on there right away, there is a chance that you might not be able to get into the races. There has been a few times, a few years ago, 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, I tried to get into the Dopey Challenge. The Dopey Challenge sold out right away, so I had to settle and just do the full marathon, which I was really bummed about because my friends all got into the Dopey Challenge. But yeah, sometimes if you're not on right away, it's tough. Now, the one thing I will say is, one, make sure you either know your credit card information by heart or have it right next to you so you're ready to go. Two, make sure that you know answers to questions immediately. So some of the questions that they're going to ask you are things like emergency contact information. I usually just put my mom down and then put my own phone number down. So I'm not like, what's my mom's phone number again? They're going to ask for your address. So just make sure you have that stuff in there. If you have not already made a Run Disney race profile, make a Run Disney race profile because they're going to ask you to sign in. And then also make sure you sign into that on whatever device you're using about 15 to 20 minutes before the registration actually goes live. Because otherwise, you will be losing some crucial time logging in, and they are going to have it so anyone who's already logged in is put ahead of you. So in the past, I've gotten into races anywhere between 5 minutes after they go live to 2 hours. And you will go into a virtual queue. I can guarantee you will go into a virtual queue, and that virtual queue could take up to 2 hours. The races will fill up relatively quickly. When it comes to this will be marathon weekend that you're signing up for, the 5K shouldn't sell out right away. The 10K shouldn't sell out right away, but the half and the full, along with the challenges, probably will because they're anniversary years. So if it's an anniversary year event that you're going after, they do special medals. And when they do special medals, more people want to do the race because of the special medals. So this will be the 30th anniversary of the Walt Disney World Marathon, right? I think. But it's definitely the anniversary of the Dopey Challenge, the 10-year anniversary. So a lot of people are going to be going after that specific race because of that. Can I register both of them at the same time? Yes. So what you can do, and I personally have never registered two people at the same time. I thought some people, they say it's kind of tricky, but at the same time, as long as you know what you're doing, it's okay. You can either sign them up separately, or what you can do is after you finish entering all the information for one of them, then you can go through and it will click. There's going to be a button on there that says like add another participant. If you do that way, it might be better, mainly due to the fact that if you do them individually, you're taking the risk that whoever you sign up first might get into the race, and the next one you might not get them into the race. That happened to one of my friends. He tried to get his daughters along with himself into the race and his wife, and he was able to get his daughters and his wife, but he did not get himself into the race. So it kind of comes down to that. It probably is better to do both people at the same time because it'll probably make life a little bit easier for you in case you can't get both of them in. And then they're going to be all upset because one got in and the other one didn't. Okay, let's keep on going to your questions. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the comments. We will answer questions for another 5 to 10 minutes here, unless we get more subscribers. Yay. Okay, let's go to our next question here. Do you think the Star Wars race will ever come back? I feel like they might come back at some point. I was very bummed that they went away. So if you have done these races at all throughout the years, what they do is if you do every single race, if you okay, let's talk about Springtime Surprise here. Let's say Springtime Surprise. If I do the next 3 Springtime Surprise races, on the 5th year, I'm considered a perfect runner because I've done every single one of them every single year. Right now, I am currently a perfect runner for the Wine and Dine Challenge. And what happens then is it's really nice because they actually give you the link a week beforehand, and you don't have to worry about doing the log on or anything else like that. You're guaranteed a spot as long as you sign up at some point before 6 o'clock that day. For Star Wars, I was perfect on the 4th year, or I had done the first 4 years, and the 5th year they canceled it. I was perfect for the Star Wars over in California for the first 4 years, and then on the 5th year they canceled it. Same thing for the Avengers races, first 4 years, perfect. 5th year they canceled it. So, it's kind of a bummer that that's what it kind of came down to. So I'm hoping that they bring back Star Wars at some point. I hope if they do, they'll say, "Oh yeah, you're a perfect runner. We will let you get your registration in with no problem." But at the same time, who knows? I have really no idea whether or not they're going to do that at all. So we shall see. Candace got herself and her daughter at the same time. So there you go. Like whatever you do, just make sure that you're there right away. This race weekend, I knew a lot of people running. It was me and Frank. We always do all of our races together. And then my friend Lindsay, she usually comes down with her husband. This time she came around with one of her friends. She did it. And then there's two people who I've worked with in the past, one I still work with. The other one left us. She abandoned us a few months ago to move to California. And the two of them, I've kind of gotten them into Run Disney. They'll do like one race a year. And they try to convince another one of our newer people to join up as well. And I sent the other one the link the day of, and I said, "Hey, just make sure that you sign up." And she was like, "Oh yeah, I'll do it in a few hours." I'm like, "No, you can't do it in a few hours." And she put it off for a few hours, and it was sold out within 20 minutes. So just make sure you're on there right away. If you're not on there right away, I can almost guarantee you won't get it. However, with that being said, let's look up Wine and Dine. So Wine and Dine went on sale about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It might be 3 weeks now, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. When's my birthday? I don't even remember. My birthday was 2 weeks ago, so it went live 15 days ago. And let's go on here real quick, if it works. It's not working. Come on, Aladdin. RunDisney.com. So if we go to the Wine and Dine Half Marathon, I can guarantee that most of the races are sold out, but sometimes one or two races will actually stick around and be open for quite some time. So if we go here, they're all sold out. Wine 9 5K is sold out, 10K sold out, Half Marathon sold out, 2-course challenge is sold out as well. Yeah, so just make sure you're on there right away. I don't want you to don't fret over it. Don't get too upset if you don't get in, but hopefully you guys can get in because they're a lot of fun. I mean, I just obviously because I spend all of my money literally goes to Run Disney. So, yeah, but the marathon weekend, I'm pretty nervous because I want to do the Dopey Challenge again because I'm crazy and I've only done it 4 times, so I have to do it a 5th time. But I'm also afraid that it will sell out almost immediately. So I have to be on there immediately when it goes live. My kids were thinking about doing the virtual for Wine and Dine. Do they mail the medals? Yeah. So what they do is, hold up one second, because I'll actually show you, because it's a very cool way that they do this here. I'm actually still working on completing I still have to complete a half marathon. Actually, I have to complete 2 half marathons. But what they do is they send you a box like this. So this was for the Princess Half Marathon 2021. So as you can tell, I have not had time to run, or I've been too lazy to run a half marathon in my own free time. But they send you like this, the medals and the shirts as well. So let's put that down there. So I haven't even opened up this stuff yet because I haven't earned them yet. So I still have 2 shirts that I have to earn after I finish doing the half marathon. I've ran the 10K, so I've taken the 10K out of there. But it's actually very nice, very easy. Oh, they don't know the Canadian. I didn't even thought about international not being able to do it. Also, if you want to, they just actually went on sale yesterday for the virtual summer series, the 5K. It's a three 5Ks if you want to, or you can just choose one 5K to do. But this time around, it is a Frozen theme. It's pretty easy. How do you log the virtual? You don't have to log the virtual at all. It's literally just the honor system, or you're essentially just buying yourself shirts and medals. I feel guilty if I wore these things without earning them. So I literally have my half and challenge for the princess here. I have a half and challenge for one of the Star Wars, and I actually have a full marathon that I still have to run as well. So yeah, it's lots of stuff to do, but overall it's gonna be fun. All right, let's check our YouTube thing, and then if we don't have anyone else, we are gonna wrap it up unless we have a last question or two that pops up here. We're still at our 1,465, so we are going to be wrapping up our show right here. So, as always, thank you guys for joining us. Tonight's show was sponsored by It's All About the Mouse Travel. So that's the most awkward thing ever. So make sure you check out it'sallaboutthemousetravel.com for all of your Disney travel needs. All of their services are absolutely positively 100% free. So make sure you book with them for your next Disney vacation. I'd like to thank everyone out there for joining us once again this week. Please keep on spreading the word about the Wednesday show and From Screen to Theme, and invite anyone and everyone to join the group on Facebook, or also to have them subscribe over on YouTube as well. If you've not ordered your copy of A Closer Look Yet, or guess what, A Closer Look Yet, make sure you go visit the Shop Now button to order your books now, and I will ship them out the very next day. And of course, as always, remember that this box is in my way. Oh my gosh. Remember that anything can happen if you let it. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Are they gone? Are they gone? Oh, good. My cheeks are just killing me. I just can't stand this kind of pressure.